All right, you guys, welcome back. Let's cover the Super Bowl halftime and the ads and everything. And before we do, really quickly, why do we cover the evil of the Super Bowl? Because people ask, why the focus? Why the focus? Well, because America has forgotten. They have forgotten. They have fallen so far from a true Christian nation. We'll get into all that today. The alternate halftime show, perfect demonstration of how far we've fallen. And if you don't cover the symbolism, then people will be lost in the fray. Let's get started on this today, you guys. Now, evil does exist, and we need to be reminded of that, especially when they're showing us in plain sight, because that reinforces our faith that there is a God who will correct all of this with his new kingdom. I was thinking about the horrific accusations in the Epstein files. A brand new one has come to light. Beef jerky, the code words beef jerky in dozens and dozens of files. There's literally a place where they order it from that has cannibal in the name of the place where they order it from. And an amazing YouTuber was able to expose this, did the research on it. I just saw this moments ago. This stuff is real. And I began to think, why are these people so gruesome? And then it clicked. The more gruesome, the more unbelievable the charges would be. This is why victims are almost never believed, because it's just too graphic to believe. Now, the Bible talks about this. It says, it is shameful to even mention what the disobedient do in secret. Essentially, it's saying, things are so bad that you can't even talk about them. So never forget, this is happening at the highest levels, and they brag about it subliminally in what we will cover today. Now, the controversial Bad Bunny halftime show was actually, believe it or not, somewhat entertaining. Now, I come from a background from the Caribbean. Part of my heritage is Caribbean. It's actually Jamaican and Cayman Islands. But let's refresh this page. What's going on here? Why isn't this shown? Okay, there it is. I wanted to pull up these images from the halftime show. Now, it was all in Spanish, and this was all done intentionally. The NFL has a marketing problem, don't they? What they should be doing is marketing these halftime shows as a showcase of a sliver of American culture. Had they done that from the very beginning, then people would be more accepting and open to different parts of our culture. But instead, they advertise these halftime shows as they're supposed to represent the majority, and that's simply not the case. Wouldn't the former thing that I just said, wouldn't that be a more unifying message? Hey, some people, we have a territory called Puerto Rico that's a U.S. territory. And it's funny because Trump speaks about it as if it's not part of the United States. But wouldn't that be cool if we got to see a showcase of different performers from different cultures? One year we had rap, right? And Snoop Dogg came out and all these people. Well, that's a sliver of American culture. I didn't see any outrage there. Not mainstream in certain states of America, but a sliver of our culture nonetheless. Now, if the NFL had been marketing these halftime shows as showcasing parts of our culture, then it would unify people. But they don't want that, do they? They don't want to fix the problem, because this is part of the chaos magic. Now, of course, Trump has condemned the halftime performance so that to solidify the division, because think about it, this is what it's all about. It's about the division. He criticized the hip thrusting, ironically enough, of Bad Bunny. He said, children tune in to the Super Bowl as if we've never had hip thrusting at a halftime show before. The irony is shocking. And believe me, I've seen worse hip thrusting in previous performances, and I didn't hear Trump say anything bad about that. It's actually par for the course to thrust the hips. Sometimes there's partial nudity that happens. And if Trump really cared about the children, he would release the Epstein files unredacted. Now, some of you are like, what are you talking about, Casey? He did release the Epstein file. No, they didn't. Not one single email, text message, letter, correspondence between Epstein and Trump in 3 decades. Even if they were talking about the weather or the incoming hurricane or the next party at Mar-a-Lago, not one. Search for yourself. They've all been erased. So the irony here is that Trump supported Kid Rock. That's who he supported. The alternate halftime show, which was more of the same, just the opposite side of the chaos wheel. What am I talking about? Well, Kid Rock. Kid Rock, who in some bizarre alternate reality, all of a sudden now Kid Rock represents the late Charlie Kirk's Toilet Paper USA Christian organization. Now, if you hadn't heard, Kid Rock did a song about statutory rape. Let me read you the lyrics. Now, he didn't perform this song, I don't think. I didn't watch the alternate, but he actually sang a song that says, young ladies, I like them underage. Some say that's statutory, but I say it's mandatory. Now, how could you defend that as the flagship halftime show for Toilet Paper USA? How is that even defensible? It's not. Now, again, I don't pick sides. Both of these artists are satanic. Bad Bunny and Kid Rock, just in different ways. And I'll show you this in a minute. But essentially, Bad Bunny opened the show with a history of Latin America. It seemed like some kind of like history lesson. Now, I'll give you my objective opinion on the actual, performance. It was actually pretty good in terms of a performance, aside from the symbolism. And they had this weird, like, point of view kind of camera walking through all these different situations. So it was taking you through like a storyline. But it opens up with the slavery and the sugarcane. This was the foundation of the halftime show as they're walking through these sugarcane fields. Now, which is obviously, this is the truth, right? Obviously, it's the truth that we enslaved the Caribbean and large parts of Latin America so that we could have sugar and pay these people almost nothing. But this is an in-your-face and defiant opening. It sends a message, is what it was intended to do, to further divide. Now, I know a little bit of this history because my great-grandfather, like I said, was Jamaican, born in the Cayman Islands. So he came from a history of slaves from Africa. Many of them were imported into the Caribbean to pick the sugarcane and harvest the sugarcane. So I know a little bit about Caribbean culture. And I recognized what Bad Bunny was trying to achieve here, but because I also grew up with Hispanic influences, my children are actually half Guatemalan. But this controversy was unnecessary had only the NFL been clear in its marketing. Now, what is clear is that the division in America is intentional. This is what it's always is. It's all about contests. This goes all the way back to ancient Rome, the hippodrome, gladiators. It's always been about competition, picking a team because they know that if they can divide everybody perfectly, then they can maintain their power. Now, I understood very little of the lyrics. I do know a little bit of Spanish, but I was able to pull out some of the symbolism, what we're going to go over today. Did you catch the crucifixion scene here on your screen? I don't know if you did, but this is obviously a crucifixion. The telephone poles. Now, the copper that connects telephone wires, it's a twisted copper wire, is significant because what you're really looking at here is the bronze serpent on the pole. So even in a Latin halftime show, they get their satanic symbolism in, don't they? Because you got to pay. You got to pay to be famous, right? You got to sell out. So this is the three. These are the there's actually a fourth here, but really what they're representing is the crucifixion. This cross is broken off. Wow. Now, to confirm this interpretation, Bad Bunny is dressed in all white, the colors of Jesus, or so they say. You know, we don't know that Jesus wore all white, but he's often depicted that way in a white robe when he walked the earth. Now, one thing else that I noticed immediately was the LGBTQ theme for the Super Bowl that took place in San Francisco, which of course is the LGBTQ capital of the world, pretty much. And we saw these themes throughout the Super Bowl. The rainbow. In fact, each player wore the logo, this logo here, on their uniforms. And this is Super Bowl 60, which is LIX. So you get a sexual subliminal here, licks, right? And then they had the LGBTQ Brandy Murphy perform the pregame performance in front of this rainbow logo, which I believe was in the middle of the field. And then I think also the national anthem was performed by an LGBTQ. I can't remember his name, but it was clear that this was the theme. Now, why did they do this? Well, obviously, it's to counter the other side, right? To basically stir the pot. Now, let's get into some of these ads. Oh, here's the Kid Rock and all this. I'll put a link to that. Now, what is going on with some of these ads? Well, one thing I noticed was the pink adrenochrome in the Invest America ad. Now, this was all about Trump's $1,000, his Trump accounts. And I noticed pink adrenochrome. And I want to check in with you guys because I think there was a soccer ball. Now, in these scenes, you will see like different types of, sports equipment. Well, there's pink adrenochrome there that she's wearing, and then pink again here. But it's weirdly, when I went back to pull up this ad, the soccer ball disappeared. So when I saw it live, there was a soccer ball. But when I went back to pull up the ad this morning, there's no soccer ball. And I believe it was right after this scene here with this girl. And a soccer ball gets kicked in the background. Now, did you guys see the same thing? Let me check in with you guys. This is the power of the crowd, because you guys can help us here. Did you guys remember seeing a soccer ball in that scene? Because when I pull up the ad now, the soccer ball is gone. So either they removed it or they're toying with us. Weird. Okay, I'm in the chat for a minute and see if you guys can answer that question for me. Did you see a soccer ball when it played live? Let's make sure this is on. Okay, it's on live chat. Okay, I'm in the chat for a minute here. Now, investamerica.org. So Phoebe did not see a soccer ball. That's just crazy. I thought for sure I saw a soccer ball, but I could be wrong. Now, what is this Invest America? Well, you invest in the lie. You invest in the lie that we just let happen. That nobody went to jail for an obvious FBI cover-up. Invest America, Trump's child bond ad. How sick is that? The irony of it. And most of you did not watch it. Yeah, crazy. Now, one thing I noticed about many of the ads is that AI has now been fully integrated into our media reality. It is hard to tell what is real anymore. They can AI anything. Several of the ads were AI. And so now our reality has been destabilized. This will cause madness in humanity at some point as people become more and more isolated because they have no idea what they're looking at and if it's real or not. They're going to become disenfranchised and disassociated from everything. Yep. Some of you said you thought you saw a soccer ball too. Yeah, Absolutely. That's what I saw. Maybe they had different versions of the ad for different markets, possibly. Now, let's keep going here, because then there was this Bon Jovi ad. Let's see if I can pull it up here. Where'd it go? Here it is. This State Farm Bon Jovi ad. And they're basically these two guys mocking Bon Jovi. They're singing the song Living on a Prayer. And this is where I feel like, now this is my spiritual rendition of this. They're disclosing NASA's Highwire Act. We all know it. We've all seen it. Many people have exposed NASA's Highwire Act, where they put wires on their hips and then they green screen it out to make it look like they're floating weightless, right? Well, check this out. I'm going to think I can play part of this. Let's put it in slow motion. Now, this is unbelievable. Now, let's play this. Let's turn the sound off. So here he goes. He's playing. He's floating. And then she opens the garage. Now, again, this is a State Farm ad. And there they go. And like you can literally see the wires. I think this is a State Farm ad. Now, what are they talking about here? Well, is halfway there? Is that them really admitting that they never made it to the moon? That they only got halfway there and they were living on a prayer? Because nobody's starting to believe it anymore, are they? So you have to wonder. That's my spiritual rendition of what they were really getting at here. Now, what else do we have here? Well, this is the Svedka vodka ad. And many people noticed that this was another beheading ad. Remember, we had the beheading ad of Got Booster. It was a play on the words Got Milk with Martha Stewart. Oh, yeah, she was in the Epstein files, too. Yep, hanging out with the old Epstein. We covered that a couple days ago. And she took the samurai sword and she cut off the crown of the pineapple. And she said, Got Booster. And she had a mark on her right arm, a blue mark, a blue Band-Aid, where she got her booster. Well, that was all symbolic. The beheading of the saints, the saints, stealing your crown. The Bible says, let no man steal your crown. Well, the crown is the crown of the pineapple, the pineal gland, the pineapple. That's your connection to Christ. So in this ad, we have another beheading ritual. There's always one. Every single Super Bowl. She pours him the Svedka vodka, which of course is blood colored. The AI robot drinks it. I got it in slow motion here. And there it goes out of the throat, the slit throat. Unbelievable. It short circuits him. Got the electricity shooting out of his neck. Its neck. See, I do it too. It's not a he, it's an it. Shake your bots off. Wow. Now, there were a couple ads pushing the lizard juice. Let's pull up this one here. We'll cover this too. David Blaine. He was in the Epstein files. So, in this ad, they're all talking about... Let's play some of this.
Wegovy now comes in a pill. So it goes with a...
They're talking about weight loss drugs in a pill. So, what's this about? Why do I call it the lizard juice? Well, it's venom from a Gila monster. Nobody knows the long-term effects of this. Essentially, what this does is put your gut to sleep. There's a reason why your gut should not be asleep. There are bacteria and toxins that could build up in your body. Already, people's stomachs are dying after taking this. It's not widely advertised, but it's happening. And who knows if putting lizard venom in your body is some kind of segue to other things. And we'll get into the reptilian part of the ads as well later in the show. But this ad goes on, and all these celebrities come out and talk about, hey, we can take a pill. And they're trying to get over the stigma of, whatever method you use to lose weight. None of it's shameful, they say, essentially. If you have to use a pill, maybe that's the way you got to do it. So they're trying to push that narrative so people aren't embarrassed about losing weight in this manner. And this is just sad. Many people have fallen for this. That's an Uber Eats commercial. That was lame. Nothing really to see there other than that's the Hall of Fame. And he says, oh, it looks like an orange juicer. I mean, I guess it's kind of significant, the color orange. But let's get through some of these. Now, then let's get through this Pepsi ad. That wasn't that good. David Blaine. And of course, David Blaine was in the Epstein files, wasn't he? Well, let's take a look. Welcome to David Blaine's Epstein files. Mentioned 1,363 times. Now, a lot of these are probably repeats. But there are many private messages. David Blaine was essentially Epstein's personal show-off guy. They would invite him over and he'd do magic tricks for all of Epstein's weird and bizarre guests. So they were like buddies. Okay? But yet, in clown world, people, being associated with these people in America makes you a hero. You get to do a Super Bowl ad and make $1 million. This is unbelievable. So, what is the significance of David Blaine? Well, let me give you the backdrop of this ad. So, this is an ad about the word meh. So, they basically use the word meh in different words. They combine it with different words. And they bring up magic. So, of course, David Blaine, magician. What is he carrying? Well, with spiritual eyes, those of us who have eyes to see, we know this is a millstone. For those who harm the children, the Bible says those who harm the children will have a millstone put around their head.
Magic.
So what does he do? He makes the millstone disappear. Well, that's blasphemy. He's mocking the Most High. He's like, I ain't getting no millstone. I'll eat my millstone. Do you see the spiritual significance of this? Mocking the Most High. Now, the irony of this is the word millstone. You could put the word meh in front of that as well. Millstone. So that's the irony of this. So he's eating his millstone. A powdered donut. Unbelievable.
Or Meg.
And then he chokes on it. Now, what else is going on? Well, Casey, you just make all this stuff up. Well, I'm afraid not. Because next, there's a snake in the garden. We all know what the snake in the garden is. Let's fast forward to that one. There's a snake in the garden. It's the beast. This is an Alexa ad. AI.
Next.
Number 4!
Is the meeting set?
I got you, Elsa. And your car will be here in 5.
So that's obviously, let's see here. Let's make sure. Okay, just want to make sure we had sound on this. Well, here we go. So who's Elsa? El Satan. Watch.
Perfect.
Look at this little beauty I found in the garden.
Nice snake, Chris.
A snake in the garden. That's a Garden of Eden. Elsa, El Satan. Basically mocking, this ad is about mocking people's fear of AI. Watch this.
Hey, whoa, what is that?
Our new Alexa Plus.
That she's not living here.
She's not living here. AI can't live in the garden.
That is full-on AI. 1 minute we're all buddies, then the next minute she's trying to kill us.
See how they're mocking us? Unbelievable. And then the rest of the ad shows all the different ways that Alexa tries to kill Chris Hemsworth in this ad. First, there's a baptism ritual. They try to drown him in the baptism. Watch.
Now, Chris,
The trash.
the door's jammed.
Wait.
Well, I pull up a tutorial. A little
First of all, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. The beheading of the saints. Watch.
to the left.
Wow, right? Then a drowning baptism.
You're a widow.
Right.
Okay, what if I'm just
I'm just being careful because of copyright, so bear with me.
chilling in the pool?
Looks like rain. I think I'll close the pool cover.
So, drowning, baptism, death. Then he gets bit in the face by a snake. You can't make this up, you guys. Let's go to that part. After he wrestles a bear. I think it's right here. Bit in the face by a snake. You ready for this? What does this mean spiritually? Well, the very first prophecy in the Bible in Genesis says that the serpent will bruise her in the heel, the seed of the woman, and she will crush the serpent's head. But instead, it's backwards. The snake bites him in the head. So you see the blasphemy going on here? Now, I wish all of this wasn't true, but obviously you guys are tuned in and you understand that this is true. Once it gets explained to you, you understand that all of this is biblical. And then finally, the final way that Alexa kills him, the AI kills him, is sacrifice to Molech in the fire. Watch.
Dead.
And wait, is the place laid out like a cross? Pretty much. That's a cross. Wow. Unbelievable. Now, why do they go through these lengths to do this? Because there's such a thing as good and evil, which is how I opened the show today. Now, remember they just disclosed the realistic masks. The CIA, they just declassified this all the way back in Bush #1 years, back in the 80s. They had this technology, and it was actually able to fool the president of the United States in the Oval Office, and they had video of that. Well, doppelgangers walk among us. This is a TurboTax ad. Watch.
Incredible job. What the?
Wow. Unbelievable.
Adrian brought a...
So, the maddening part about this reality is you can show this to people and they think we are the ones that are crazy for finding this stuff. This is the problem with our reality. I think pretty much none of this is a stretch. Once you have the spiritual eyes to see this stuff, and they keep repeating these themes over and over and over, every single Super Bowl, they can't help themselves. So this should encourage you. This should be edifying. Why? Because Jesus is coming. He's going to fix all this. These people are so evil, we can't even talk about what they're really doing behind closed doors. So how do you spiritually prepare? Well, number one, you don't get entertainment out of this. You see it for what it is. Number two, you're in this world, but you're not of the world. You don't celebrate these people. You don't cheer them on. You don't have favorites. You're not in the system. You hate what is bad, the Bible says. You don't love this world or the things in it. The Bible is pretty clear. But yet, people keep admiring this stuff. And, oh, America, right? And they're doing these things in plain sight and then mocking us about it. That's what we do about this. Because spiritually, there will be a reckoning at some point. God knows our hearts and minds. And he'll say, oh, who did you worship? Who did you keep letting people get away with these things and look the other way when they literally admitted to us what they're doing in the Epstein files? And they literally covered it up in plain sight. Let me repeat this because this is very important. If someone tells me Trump is not in the Epstein files, what you tell them is, don't you think it's odd that there's not one single email, BlackBerry text message, or correspondence or letter in the 3 decades these men knew each other? In 1 decade, they were best friends. There wasn't one single email. They've all been scrubbed. They've all been scrubbed. And we're letting it happen because America is so divided. Their chaos magic is working. It's absolutely working. Okay, I'm in the chat. Do you guys want to do any polls? Or do you have any other ads that I might have missed that you want me to kind of cover or look up maybe? All right. Not one email. Yep, I looked. You type in Epstein, Trump, 0, nothing, nada. They've all been scrubbed. And nobody has anything to say about that. Oh, they just say, oh, Trump's not in the files. He absolutely is in the files. Now think about the conspiracy that it would take to cover that up. Think of all the hundreds of people that have seen the files and seen what Trump's, and nobody will stand up and do anything. They've probably been threatened. Their entire life has been threatened. So I know what I would do. I wouldn't care if my life was threatened because my crown is not in this life. I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna blow the whistle on this. You want to kill me, kill me. But unfortunately, most people, all they care about is their retirement. They care about their pension. They care about the millions of dollars they've been paid to cover something up. They don't care about doing the right thing. But again, there is going to be a spiritual reckoning. All right. Yep, Epstein was at Trump Tower. That video should be viral. It's still sitting at 5,000 views. There's something wrong with the algorithms have suppressed the views. It might have been seen by a lot more people, but it is our lowest performing Epstein video. All the rest of them have like 10,000 views. And Trump, and literally Epstein says, I'm at Trump Tower. Well, he said Trump Tower when asked where he was. Right before Thanksgiving, 2016, after Trump won the election. Hopefully some mainstream truthers will pick that up and help it go viral. But we broke that on this channel 3 or 4 days ago. So the beheading also shows 5 children. 5 means death. Thanks, Corandra. Thank you. First time Super Bowl was transmitted around the world. Wow. Yes, with Lady Gaga, it was in the halftime performance, and Ricky Martin was in the halftime performance as well. Gaga had the red shoes. Thank you. Forgot about that. Yeah, and then there was some rumor, and I couldn't substantiate this. Well, maybe we should look it up right now. Let's look it up right now. Someone claims that in the Epstein files, it said that on February 8th, 2026 was supposed to be World War III. Well, obviously, it's not World War III. We're on the 9th now, right? So that might have been a psyop to make people to discredit the Epstein files, right? Let's see, World War III. All right, let's see here. Beginning of World War III. Is this it here? Beginning of World War III. This is stated 2015. Let's see if we can find that while we're live here. I mean, it doesn't matter now, obviously, because we're already on the 9th and World War III never happened. Unless we're all dead and we don't know it. Oh my gosh. Unbelievable. Wait. Do dump on, what is this? Oh, that's a new. Yeah, I think that was just a psyop. There's a lot of disinformation out there, you guys, to muddy the waters so that people can't figure out what's going on. Let's see here. Whoa. A 144 inspection. Yeah, I can't find it. All right, let me go back in with you guys here. Let's see here. I'll put links to these ads that we covered today. Yes, I mean, technically we are. We are in the infancy of World War III. Absolutely, I believe we are. But I believe that World War III is like a fake. It's going to be fake. My belief system is that there will never be a World War III. There will be an Armageddon. And all this fear about World War III is used to manipulate the public in all different countries to comply with their arms race, which essentially is a buildup of arms and technology to try to fight Jesus when he comes back for Armageddon. That's what they're really working on, but they have to keep us all thinking that countries are fighting against each other. So that's just my opinion on it. I understand some people don't share that opinion, but that's my opinion. All right. Yeah, can you believe Kid Rock did that song? That's unbelievable. I had to fact check that. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, why would TPUSA use him for a halftime show? Now remember, he was in the White House too, talking about ticket sales and scalpers and how they were getting all the money and charging up the ticket prices. And they blamed the scalpers for the rise in ticket prices instead of the true reason why ticket prices are so expensive. I mean, that's part of it, but yeah, I mean, this is the irony of it. This is what these people do in plain sight. They tell you what they do to children, but yet for some reason there's a disconnect. People say, "Oh, they're just joking." You can't joke about something like that. So yeah, I don't want to go down the Whitney Webb rabbit hole on this show because I just want it to be about the Super Bowl at this point. I mean, I will at some point probably. He was on meh jumping around. That's a good one. Yeah, fake World War III fears, implement a prison state, absolutely 100%. Now, I want to be clear. I don't have anything personal against these people other than that they're evil and they run everything. Okay? This isn't an attack one way or the other on anybody. These are just the true facts of what we observe them doing, saying. So, yeah, Kid Rock has some chill songs. I agree. I grew up on Kid Rock. You know, so I agree with that, Christy. So, okay, let's say the pastor of your church, you found out that they made an album that said those lyrics and never repented of it. Would you go listen to that pastor? Of course you wouldn't. So why don't we have the same standard for everyone else around us? Why do they just get to create sin and all these things and say abominable things, and we keep listening to them and they've never repented of it? This is what I don't understand. And again, there will be a reckoning of all this. Now, what's the harm in did I call him Chris Rock? What's the harm in Kid Rock's lyrics? Well, it's grooming. Essentially, it's soft grooming. Those lyrics affect lots of men who otherwise might not be predisposed to it. They have a false sense of thinking something is okay and moral. Okay? That listen to Kid Rock, they're programmed by this. And if you don't believe me, think about it for a minute. Think about all the people that are programmed by music in different ways. Why wouldn't they be programmed by listening to Kid Rock's lyrics about statutory rape? Okay? And then it also gives a false sense of morality to maybe a young girl who might think, oh, well, Kid Rock sang about it. It must not be that bad, right? So this is a double-edged sword. So we can't just let these people off the hook when they say and do these things. It's the same thing with Nicki Minaj. I mean, you guys, TPUSA is becoming a cesspool. It's a toilet. Literally, it's toilet paper USA. That's what's happened. You have to wonder if maybe Charlie Kirk, if he's truly dead, if all that really happened, because we don't know these days, everything's AI. But if he is, you would have to imagine that maybe he woke up to some of this stuff and he saw the direction they were trying to take it. And he's like, oh my gosh, this is a huge psyop. I'm going to make some changes. And then they took him out. So, all right. Okay. Yes, we are experiencing a great apocalypse, a great revealing of the hidden and secret things. Nothing they do in secret stays in secret. The Bible says that too, right? All that was done in secret will be brought to light. All right. Did you see it? What's that, Phoebe? You mean the Super Bowl? I watched like half of it with some friends that live close by. Because otherwise I have no way to, look for the ads and all that and decode it. The game itself, I don't really have much to say about the game itself in terms of the score and all that. There might have been something in there, but it was your typical Super Bowl, low scoring game, you know. Maybe Kirk will come back alive in the head wound and be the Antichrist. Could be. You never know. Never know. Some people were comparing the neck wound of the robots that we covered to Charlie Kirk's neck wound, and I would agree with that. That's possible symbolism. Remember Charlie in Lost? He was shot in the neck with an arrow. Let's see if they show us Lost. Remember that? They called it a Catch-22 was the name of the episode. Season 3, episode 17. See if there's some images of this. He was shot in the same exact location where Charlie Kirk was, in the left side of the neck. And Desmond says, "You're gonna die, Charlie." Holy smokes. Here it is. Charlie. Now, this scenario doesn't happen, obviously. Charlie survived several more seasons before he died. I believe he died underwater in a tank, is how he drowned. There's your baptism ritual. Wow. All right. Yep, throwing the pigskin, a bale, ball, football. Okay. Yeah, Trump literally said, "Yeah, the nerve of these Bad Bunny guy for all this hip thrusting. There's children watching the Super Bowl." Seriously, dude? Seriously? Wow. Let's look this up. Hip thrusting Super Bowl halftime shows. Somebody must have done some kind of article on this. Wait, what? Shakira and Jennifer. Oh, here we go. Shakira did hip thrusting, right? Jennifer Lopez did hip thrusting. Where was Trump? Wow. Of course, I'm just making fun. But it's just the irony of it. And people believe this stuff. Janet Jackson, Beyonce, they're all hip thrusters. Michael Jackson, he's the most famous one. Gotta wonder. All right, anything else before we pop off here, you guys? Tomorrow will be headlines. I was going to do headlines today, but I don't want to conflate too much into the show today. So we'll just get caught up on the headlines tomorrow. Yeah, when Janet Jackson malfunctioned. Yeah, that was the nudity that I was talking about that happens sometimes at the Super Bowl. I think there was one other Super Bowl halftime show where there was nudity by accident. Heck, we had kids in cages. Remember that one? Let's look it up. J-Lo, daughter, halftime show in a cage. That was the most shocking one. In plain sight. Kids in cages. Can't make this up. Can't remember which Super Bowl that was. Gosh, there's been so many. Unbelievable. So, wardrobe malfunction. Talk about your hacking. I did talk about the hacking, I think, on yesterday's show or the day before I opened the show with what happened. But again, I won't live in fear. So, I don't want to give it any more power and energy than that. Yep, that was J-Lo's daughter. They had a bunch of children in cages. That's just normal. Wow. Oh, you guys are just crazy conspiracy theorists. Okay, sure. Epstein files come out, describe all the same thing. Oh, you're just a crazy conspiracy theorist. So they put it in writing in private emails, and people still won't believe. Oh, that's not what they're saying. It's maddening, you guys. It's maddening. But I'm glad I could be at least a voice for all of us who understand what we're dealing with here. Wow, I was hung in a cage from the ceiling in a warehouse with others in the mid-50s. Wow, that's crazy. And I believe you. Yep, expose the darkness. Why was he holding his private? Same reason why Michael Jackson holds his private. And Janet Jackson and all the rest of them do. They all do it. The problem is everyone's in the right-left paradigm. So they only notice things when it's against their paradigm, right? Do you have a gap between your upper front teeth, Casey? I don't, but that's pretty funny. That's a weird question. That's hilarious, actually. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, he was holding his private part a lot of the performance. Yeah, he sure was. They all do it. That's the thing. Okay. Gosh. Wow. I can't even believe that's a serious concern or question. I don't, and if I'm misunderstanding, my apologies, but they all do it. All of them hold their private part, maybe not as long, but does it matter if you hold your private part for 1 second versus 20 seconds? Does all that really matter? They're still putting their hands all over their private parts in pretty much every single performance if they're not holding their guitar, which is also phallic symbolism if you didn't know that. They all do it. Prince does it. They all do it. So, yeah. But when we're in the right left paradigm and we think, oh, I can't believe they did a halftime show and it's all in Spanish and no one can understand. That doesn't represent America. Now look at him holding his crotch. Look at that. And then people forget the crotch holding from all the other artists. That's my point to all this. You got to step outside of that. Realize we're being manipulated by all this. They want that emotional response. They want it to keep you divided so that nobody ever comes together to wake up. You guys, if we all came together and there was no right and left, Republican or Democrat, and we all said, you know what, these elites sure do have a lot of power and they're doing all these things. And why isn't our grocery bills going down? We'd all start talking about it together. And why is everything so expensive? And why aren't our wages going up? And why are there now trillionaires and people that make all this money? And should we really be having all these really, really, really rich people dictating how our economy works when they're the ones to benefit from it? Like if we all start having these discussions instead of fighting over, trans people in libraries and, who has I don't know, I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but you know what I'm saying. Then things would change. But instead, they've got us all fighting about these things and we can never come together and actually make real change. That's the problem. A kingdom divided shall not stand. It's built on sinking sand. That's in the Bible. You can look that up. So, why would someone send me a Wizard of Oz and a Stephen King book in the mail? I don't know. That's a good question. Just some random person sent that to you? There was no return address? Okay. Yes. Anti-oligarchy. Okay. Okay, guys, we're going to pop off of here. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Appreciate your input. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Much love, everybody. Take care.